Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about the Vampire Diaries. 2 episodes this time. Episode 806, titled Detoured on Some Random Backwoods Path to Hell, which premiered Friday, December 2nd, 2016. And episode 807, titled The Next Time I Hurt Somebody, It Could Be You, which premiered Friday, December 9th, 2016 on the CW. And I'm recording on December 11th, 2016. So sorry for the delay, guys. My throat has been kind of raw for the last 2 weeks. I'm fighting off a cold, so I couldn't record any sooner, but I'm hoping now is good enough a time. But just quick reminder, even though I'm not recording the same night as I usually do as I watch the episode, you are still getting my first genuine reaction for the episode, as well as any thoughts and theories or predictions that I came up with from whatever I've seen on the screen. So those are genuinely mine. Those are the only things that I own. Otherwise, any of the photos used in this video are probably from Google, especially if they're related to Vampire Diaries specifically. They're definitely from Google, and I don't own those. Also, this video is not being made for any money. It's just for fun. It's a cool way to keep track of not only what I generally thought for the first time as I watched the episodes, but if I make any predictions, it's great to keep track of those in case they do pan out later on or not. So with that said, guys, I'm going to try to do the 2 episodes in 20 minutes, but let's get started and let's begin. So something new that we learned in this episode. So pretty much 806, I pretty much sum it up as being kidnapped twins lead to Cade's new servants, the Salvatores. 807, I call it Crazy Christmas before the Salvatores start as Cade's new servants. So with that said, though, I'm going to kind of break down the 2 episodes for you as best I can. So starting with 806, the episode title, quote, Detoured on some random backwards path to hell, is actually from Caroline in episode 117, and she said it to Matt when she got rained on when she was trying to drive in the woods. So there's that. So for that episode, I kind of saw 2 different storylines. First one being what I'm dubbing Celine's plan, and the second one being saving Enzo. So for story arc number 1, Celine wants to offer the twins to Cade as replacements for herself and Sybil. She wanted them ready in 10 years, not after 3 months on the job trying to convert them, as you would say. Celine has been searching for replacements since 1883, when Dalton St. John, ancestor to Virginia St. John, accidentally released Celine from the vault. I'm guessing the vault got closed before Sybil was able to escape. Now, Damon learns of the deal and works with Sybil to offer a counter offer against Celine. And Damon's deal was that him and Stefan replace the sirens as Cade's new servants. Sybil establishes a test for Stefan to get him as dark as possible for Cade, to remind him as to who he really is. Pretty much putting Stefan in a really hard position of getting swarmed by all of these compelled or sirened humans who will fight him to the death. Which leads to Stefan knocking a lot of them out, yet being forced to kill the last one who wouldn't stop until he was killed. After that, and hearing the terms from Damon, Stefan agrees to the deal, and he does it in order to save the twins. Stefan's one condition, though, was that he could spend his last day of freedom with Caroline, the next 24 hours. So, with this deal in place for the Salvatores, Sybil has granted as a side deal that she is immune to hell and yet still remains a siren, even though she's not a servant for Cade anymore. And she's pretty much cut Celine out of that deal. So now Celine is going to be a target of hell for her years of servitude catching up to her. So that's story 1. Story 2 was saving Enzo. So Sybil gets her psychic connection reestablished with Enzo through a simple phone call. She starts singing her song through a call that Enzo thought Damon was calling him for. So because of that, Sybil enters Enzo's mind and tortures him in the Augustine setting. Because of this, Stefan enters Enzo's mind to learn more from Sybil, only to be told from her to meet him, or for Stefan to meet her at a location to work out a deal to save the twins. Which Stefan agrees, and he kind of puts everyone on a fake destination as he goes to the real one. Now, Enzo and Bonnie talk about how Enzo resisted Sybil for so long, And Enzo talks about how from a very young age he had to harden himself, and yet he still believed that no one who dealt with so much darkness and so much tragedy would not be granted some experience of love. So he thought that even though he's going to experience all this, he didn't think he was going to die because he hadn't felt what love was, and he felt that with Bonnie. I think that's the gist of what it was. But the question remains, is Enzo really free from Sybil now, or just from her temporary attack against him? Some tidbits about the episode, though, is that Caroline puts a relationship with Stefan on hold when her twins are in danger. She even gives back the ring so that she's not stuck thinking about Stefan when she has to come between Damon and to get her twins. So there's that. Alaric and Caroline have a huge fight over the twins. Alaric wants to keep the twins away from the supernatural, including Caroline, which horrifies Caroline, but eventually she agrees for Alaric to keep the twins away from her until all this is over. Kind of similar to what Haley had to deal with on the originals when Klaus tells her they had to send Hope away to keep her safe from everything that they were dealing with. Also, at the very end of the episode, Alaric and Matt team up together to kill Damon as revenge for Tyler. Alaric actually stakes Damon in the heart, and you actually see Damon desiccate, and that's how the episode ends. So, with that said, let's move on to the next episode, 806. So the title, The Next Time I Hurt Somebody, It Could Be You, was said by Stefan in episode 120 to Elena when they were at the quarry right after Stefan was trying to detox from the human blood. So, I found in this episode there was, again, 2 storylines. 1, Crazy Christmas Crashers, and 2, Cade's meeting with Stefan. And then a whole bunch of tidbits as well. But moving on to story number 1, we get Caroline continuing with her Christmas Eve plans like Stefan had wanted, since that was Stefan's 24 hours left of freedom. You got Alaric arriving with the twins, who are supposed to leave with him after the party, which is a lot sooner than Caroline thought they had agreed upon. Damon and Sybil actually crash the party with a gift of someone going to hell. So this surprises Alaric since he knows that he killed Damon the previous night. Damon actually kills Stefan so he can meet up with Cade, which is story number 2, which I'll get to in one moment. And then we have Peter Maxwell arriving with his son Matt Donovan, and they arrive late. But because they arrive, Damon gets Peter to confess his darkest sin, which was that he was ashamed to return to Mystic Falls when he found out that Kelly was pregnant with Matt. After all of it, Damon declared Peter as the worst of them all, as he would be the one who got the ticket to hell, which was the whole point of the whole confessing thing. So that was story 1. Story 2 was Cade's meeting with Stefan. So after Damon kills Stefan and we see Stefan desiccating, Stefan finds Cade inside his head where they meet. And this is where Cade is trying to take Stefan back on a trip down memory lane to show why Cade is interested in Stefan. And Stefan discovers that the moment that Cade took interest in Stefan was back in Christmas of 1917 in Monterey, which we actually see flashbacks of. And this was when Ripper Stefan was, he massacred some village from the looks of it on Christmas Eve. And he was actually spared by Celine, who saw his massacre. And she only spared him because when she saw inside Stefan's head, she saw anguish. And she saw him writing down all his victims' names as he was carving them into a cabin's wooden wall. And also, Stefan was actually begged for Celine to end it for him. He wanted to die after all this torment that he was dealing with in the control issues. When Cade saw Celine spare Stefan and actually alter his memory of that Christmas, Cade knew that he lost her as a servant, but that moment gained his interest in Stefan. To make sure that Cade doesn't go after the twins in the future, Stefan agrees to be the Ripper again for only a year to serve Cade. Cade agrees. He wants the Ripper, and even though he agrees, and Stefan thinks he'll only work for a year, Cade thinks that even after a year, Ripper Stefan is going to still want to work for him. So they have a little bet going on there. And Cade actually reveals that he wants souls like Elena, good souls that could be tempted into darkness. Cade's trip down memory lane actually went into the fact that Stefan running into Elena and actually officially meeting her at school was the turning point for Elena's soul going down the darker supernatural path that it went down, as opposed to what her life could have been if he never intervened. So he wants souls I have to rewatch it again on YouTube, that one scene, but apparently, from my understanding, it's that good souls who can be tempted down a dark path are truly evil because they can be quickly tempted or something like that. I am not sure. I'm definitely going to go check it after recording this, and then I'll probably put some clarification. It's probably some clarification on the screen right now, if I did this correctly. But anyways, as this storyline ends, Damon drives him and Stefan out of Mystic Falls after the 24 hours are up, and right when they are out of the city limits, Stefan turns off his humanity. So there is that. Some tidbits for the episode, though, is that Enzo wants to take Bonnie to Paris. That's his Christmas gift to her, and she got him shirts for Christmas. So there's that. And also, instead of attending the party, Bonnie and Enzo break into Sybil's hideout in Grove Hill, where they find Celine there with the tuning fork. This is where Bonnie and Enzo actually hear Celine's side to the Monterey flashback story, and Celine started the whole victim list that Stefan did as a Ripper. So we kind of get, we kind of see that the version that Celine talks about for Monterey does match up with the way Kay is showing Stefan. Also, we get Celine getting Alar to agree to one last meeting between her and the twins so that she can erase the psychic link that is between the three of them. And kind of from the looks of it, it kind of looked like she was erasing her existence from the twins' minds as well. Also, we get Sybil still wanting something from Peter Maxwell, which he knows nothing about. And then we also see at the very end Damon giving Elena's necklace to Sybil moments before he rips out her heart. So there is that. So moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode, for 806, it has to be the fact that Damon plans to offer himself and Stefan up to Cade. It wasn't the deal that surprised me. It was the fact that Damon had the idea for the deal. In my head, I always thought that it would be Stefan who had the idea for the deal as a way to spare someone he loved from some type of torment. But the fact that it was Damon who thought it up, which could make it seem like he's trying to save the twins, but really he's doing it to save himself from hell. So I think that was the surprising part for me, the fact that Damon was the one that came up with the plan, because it ultimately would lead to saving the twins, but essentially it was him not only gaining his brother back on his side, but also saving himself from hell. So there's that. It's just not the deal itself, but just who came up with what and what situation is what surprised me. What surprised me for 807 was not only the fact that Celine had met Stefan back in 1917 in Monterey, but also the fact that Damon killed Sybil. I was rooting for that, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But let's move on to the top 3 favorite moments. First one from 806 has to be that Sybil double-crossed Celine when proposing new servants to Cade. The whole proposal pitch moment was pretty cool, and how she spinned how the deal was a lot better than Celine's proposal of the twins. Second favorite moment for me has to be Damon taking charge over Celine, which totally makes sense. I really love the scene where he explains, well, we just almost got caught like so many times already through your command. It's time to do things my way, and he just took charge. I really like that. A lot of the times in the past, I really wanted Damon to do that, because essentially, for our main core characters, Damon was the oldest. He should have been the one who took charge. He should have been the one that who had a say and had people listening to at least a plan that he had and actually going through with it. It seems a lot of the time Damon only takes charge with his plans if he's the antagonist. So the fact that he got to do that, not only in this episode, but against Celine, who is a creature who is a lot older than Damon, I really like that, for sure. Another thing I liked was the fact that Lizzie, the blonde twin, siphoned magic from Sybil, all because she didn't want to take a nap. She was just like, I don't want to take a nap, I'm not tired, and then she just grabs the siren's wrist, and she just sucks some magic from her, to the point that Sybil had the the bony siren hand that caused for the cop to be in shock. So I thought there was a unique way to have a temper tantrum. So there's that. My favorite moment for 807, though, is Damon killing Sybil. I was not expecting that, especially with the whole vibe that was going off between the two of them. It kind of looked like there was something growing deeper inside of him. And then to have them go in, not only for Damon to give the necklace, but also to have Sybil go in closer for what looks like a kiss. And then for him to just punch through her chest and rip out her heart. I was not expecting that, and I absolutely loved it. The fact that he actually ripped it out of her and placed it down. I really thought she was dead. And maybe it was the fact that he was seeing flashes of himself giving Elena that same necklace, which I have questions about later on. Maybe that's what kind of triggered him to go for the kill. But the fact that he killed her, I was like, yes! Promo ruined it later on, though, but I'll get back to that later, though. Second favorite moment for me for the episode has to be Bonnie making the witch connection between herself, the twins, the sirens, and Cade. She mainly makes this connection in regards to the tuning fork. She asked Enzo what the tuning fork what it sounded like to him. He just said it sounded like a tuning fork. But for Bonnie, it felt like a really splitting headache for her. Something similar to what the twins had experienced is what the sirens experience. And then she kind of made the connection of the fact that before she found out she was a witch, she thought she was psychic, which is something that the sirens aren't, which is something that Cade is. So she's kind of making the magical connection between all these different versions. Herself as a former witch, the twins as siphon witches, the sirens as psychics, and then Cade as the first psychic. So maybe there is some kind of connection in that statement of hers that can help take down the sirens and Cade permanently. Another favorite moment for me from 807 has to be Damon's memories of Elena and her necklace. I love this moment because this was, not only is this the moment where he gives it back to her on her 18th birthday, but as you know, back in 602, this was the moment that Elena confessed that this was the moment she knew that she felt something more for Damon. Whether she knew that she was on the verge of falling in love with him, or this was the moment she knew that she loved him, that was the trigger moment for Elena. If I remember correctly. That moment needed to be altered for Elena in order for her to have her memories changed of Damon back in 602. So the fact that it was this moment that Damon remembered, I loved it. I'm wondering if that had any same effects to him in how he handled Sybil, like I mentioned earlier, but hopefully we'll get into that later on, though. Moving on, top 3 peeved moments. First one, for 806, is that Alaric staked Damon. He actually killed Damon. I understand the place that Alaric was in because Damon was putting his twins in danger, but it hurts me to see these former best buds at odds like this. It really hurts me because I loved the friendship between Damon and Alaric. Loved it. And the fact that they're against each other like this to the point that Alaric had to kill Damon, I don't like it. I don't like that for sure. And another peeve I have is from 807, which was Stefan's last day of freedom, which he was promised to be able to spend it with Caroline, was spent speaking with Cade in the so-called afterlife or before the veil. It seems like you kind of cheated me on that little clause there. You promised me 24 hours of freedom with Caroline, and yet you took a majority of that time just to have a chit-chat that you could have easily had with me after my 24 hours were up. So it seemed unfair. It was an unfair peeved, for sure. So what will I remember most when I look back on these 2 episodes? Pretty much it's the same concept. Cade getting the Salvatores as his new servants, adding on to some Christmas shenanigans. So there's that. But let's move on to random questions. I got quite a few. So from 806, I have 4 questions. First one is, if Damon is alive after being staked while a servant for Cade, does that mean that the sirens may be easier to kill than we thought since they were under the protection of Cade previously? Like we saw Sybil get her head snapped off or her neck snapped, and yet it didn't do anything for her. We saw her get her heart ripped out by Damon in this episode, but yet it doesn't seem to have taken an effect, which I will come back with. But I'm wondering if the fact that being a servant of Cade means true immunity to death from that. Also, with that said, second question, now that Damon and Stefan are Cade's servants, both of them have died and gone through desiccation and are now alive again, or undead again. Has their status as vampires changed? Are they as immortal as the originals who can't be killed? Is that what their status is now? And next question, did Damon need to die permanently before transitioning into Cade's servant? Or was dying the way he did just a way for him to talk to Cade? Or was it an advantage in order for them to talk to Cade? So there's that. Last question for 806. Is Enzo back under the control of Sybil? That question was answered in 807, which showed that he wasn't. But is it possible that she could get him back under her control, or is that completely severed? So there's that. Now, I have 3 questions from 807. First one is, if Sybil is looking for something from Peter Maxwell, does that mean that Damon never gave her whatever he had found in that garage? It was like this black orb-looking thing. Did he keep that for himself? I can't remember if he ever gave it over or not, or if it's something else that Sybil is looking for from Peter. Next question, did Celine really erase her existence from the twins' memories, or did she do something else? I still don't trust her, despite the fact that she seems like the nicer siren at the moment. Also, next question, does Damon still have memories of Elena? That flashback from earlier from about him and the necklace with her implies that he does? Or was that a complete shock from him to see that? And did those slip through Sybil's alterations of his memories? And there's the timer. So that's another question there. Also, another question, I guess you could say, is the way that we're seeing the sirens now, are we supposed to see them, and the way the backstory we saw them previously, Celine was supposed to be the initial evil siren, while Sybil was supposed to be the innocent one, and yet now we're seeing Sybil being the evil one and Celine trying to be the one who's trying to redeem herself. Is that supposed to really be parallel over the fact that it's Damon and Sybil and then Celine and Stefan with how we saw them in season 1? Is that really what they're trying to go with here? And if that's the case, are other things maybe paralleling between the Siren Sisters and the Salvatores? So there's that. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. So the promo for episode 808 is not coming back until Friday, January 13th, 2017 at 8 p.m. So that is a good month away. And it looks like from that promo, Damon and Stefan work for Cade and follow no rules, at least not on Stefan's end. It also looks like Sybil is alive and terrorizing Caroline. And Caroline looks like she's telling people in a classroom to stop, from the looks of it. It also seems like Damon might actually have Stefan working against him at some points. So there's that. So after all of this is said and done, any new questions for me? One being, has the Stefan Caroline wedding been called off now that he works for Cade? It kind of looks like it if he has to go turn off his humanity, but I guess we'll have to really wait and see, or if it's just postponed for the moment. But another thing, or another comment, is that I guess ripping out Sybil's heart doesn't really kill her. Damon ripped out her heart in 807, and yet 808 shows her terrorizing Caroline, so I guess ripping out her heart doesn't work, which it should. I mean, any supernatural being should be dead after a complete heart extraction or a complete decapitation. It's not like you could put them back. It's not like you could put the head back on the neck and then just have the whole enhanced healing thing heal the cut over, or have the heart put back in the chest and then just have all the veins grow back and attached and everything. It shouldn't work like that. Otherwise, no vampire could die from a heart extraction if that were the case. So it's just it's another pet peeve of mine. But anyway, does Sybil surviving the heart extraction have anything to do with the recent deal she made with Cade, or is it because she's a siren and there really is no way that we know if that can kill them? Also, if both Salvatores don't have their humanity on, then what is keeping them loyal to each other? I guess we're going to have to wait and see, because this is the first time we're going to see both Stefan and Damon without their humanity at the same time. Also, will the Salvatores only serve Cade for a year and leave that, or will they serve for eternity? Another bigger question that Cade is kind of putting a bet on against Stefan, so I guess we'll have to wait and see about that. But last question, will Cade's death be the only way for the Salvatores to be free from him? And if Cade dies, does that mean the existence of hell ceases to exist as well? But that's about it. So what did you guys think of the 2 episodes? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions, but what you think is going to happen next. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, all of that as best I can. But you can follow me there if you like. Also, my WordPress account is attached to my Tumblr. The link for that is down below as well. Everything I post online is pretty much attached to my WordPress, so it's easy access for you there if you want to follow me there. Also, my Livejournal entry, guys, the link for that is down below. That is a play-by-play recap of what happened in the episodes. So I have two different entries down below, and you also get my initial questions, initial first impressions, initial thoughts as I watched the episode for the first time embedded inside the actual recap. So you can have a quick look at that if you want. That's about it. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry for the delay. I hope you come back next episode to see what I have to say about the next episode. And after that, I think we are halfway through the final season. So until then, guys, remember January 13th is when the season returns. And until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Have a happy holiday and have a happy new year. Bye for now.